Hi, my name is Shai Reshef. I'm the president of University of the People, the first nonprofit, tuition-free, accredited American online university. And today I have a great pleasure to host my dear friend and one of the most amazing people in higher education, Steve Trachtenberg. So, Steve, welcome to welcome to this video, and thanks for joining me.
Not at all. Thank you very much, Shai.
And why don't we start by you telling us a little bit about yourself, about your history, and how you progress along your life?
I was born and grew up in Brooklyn, New York. The first generation child of two immigrants. My mother came to the United States from Palestine. My father came to the United States from Odessa. We lived in a one-bedroom apartment on the fifth floor of an apartment house in Brooklyn, as I say, in Brighton Beach. And I slept in the living room on a cot behind the piano. And my parents, for reasons I understood as I got older, took the bedroom. And it was a modest apartment, but we made it work. And I went to the local public schools, which were excellent at that time, and for all I know, are still as good as ever in that neighborhood. Jewish, Irish, Italian. I can remember one Protestant, but basically it was Catholics and Jews, and a sprinkling of what today are referred to as people of color, in those days, Black. And basically, we all grew up playing ball in the streets and the local parks, and very committed to the schooling. First generation parents, I think, frequently understand how imperative it is for their children to learn English and to apply themselves academically if they're going to be able to succeed. By the time I got to high school, which was James Madison High School, I was surrounded with people recognizing they lived in the outer borough, and that if they were going to get to the inner borough, namely Manhattan, they were going to have to study their way across the Brooklyn Bridge. And it turns out they have grown up to be consequential people. Ruth Ginsburg was at James Madison High School when I was there. Norman Coleman, who went on to become a senator from Minnesota. Schumer, who went on to become a senator from New York. And
you?
Well, I didn't become a senator from any place, but Bernie Sanders did.
Okay.
And he was at the high school. At one point, that high school had 3 alumni in the United States Senate, all at the same time.
Wow.
Plus a Supreme Court justice. So it tells you something, because this was not the Bronx High School of Science. We had normal youngsters, bright enough, but normal youngsters. You didn't have to take a test to get into the school. You just walked in. If you lived in a certain neighborhood, that was your school. The teachers were extraordinarily committed, and the young people were taught to be ambitious and taught that learning was going to make it possible for them to participate in the American dream. And to be truthful, we all worked all the time. very dedicated. We had a good time too. We were children after all, but it worked. And so a very high percentage of my classmates went to either Brooklyn College or City College, which in those days was tuition free. I think $25 a year for a locker. But other than that, it was free and excellent. And to this day, Brooklyn College and City College and the City University, I think, serves that metropolitan area extraordinarily well. In any case, it worked, and I was able to get into Columbia University, where I did my bachelor's degree, and my father was only able to pay a portion of that, and so I delivered drugs. Let me be clear about that: pharmaceuticals for Rabinowitz Pharmacy on a bicycle, and held down other part-time jobs, shoveling snow, raking people's lawns, one thing or another, and saved money. And then when I went to Columbia, I delivered the New York Times, and in the summers I worked as a busboy in resort hotels to put together the tuition and the room and board, books. The one indulgence, I allowed myself, and my mother participated in a conspiracy my father never knew. I joined a fraternity, and that was $100 initiation fee, and $100 was $100 in those days. So she gave me some of it, and at any rate, I had a wonderful experience at Columbia, and I was not a great student, but good enough to get into Yale Law School. So I went to Yale Law School, where I found myself surrounded with people who would later become celebrities in much the same way that Ruth Ginsburg later became a celebrity from my high school. People like Alan Dershowitz became celebrities in their own way after we graduated from law school. And I anticipated becoming a lawyer, and I graduated, and I took the bar, and I got a job as a lawyer, and I did that for 2 years. I was a lawyer with the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission. Long enough to conclude that I really didn't want to be a lawyer. It was too much worrying about other people's things. In the case of the Atomic Energy Commission, it was the government's things. But my colleagues, my classmates, were spending a lot of time worrying about other people's money, other people's estates, other people's companies. And while I have no disrespect for money, on the contrary, I think it is very much to be respected because it is powerful and it makes things possible. I didn't want to be devoting my life to that particular lens. And so I saw a job opportunity to work as an aide to a congressman, and I took it. And that was a man named John Bradamus, and he was on the House Education and Labor Committee, and through him, I got to know a great deal about the federal laws regarding education, which in 1964 were fairly modest. You don't see a real surge in education legislation at the federal level until 1965, when you see the passage following the Civil Rights Act of 64, you see the passage in 65 of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act and the Higher Education Act. And that is when real serious money started getting invested by the US government into American education. Previous to that, it had mostly been monitoring and keeping an eye on it and collecting data and things like that.
So,
And that job, when Lyndon Johnson left office, led to an associate dean's job at Boston University, which led to a dean's job, which led to a vice presidency, which led to a presidency. I spent 11 years as president of the University of Hartford in Connecticut. And then a headhunter extracted me and brought me to George Washington University, where I spent almost 20 years as president.
So you were a legend in George Washington University. Tell us what do you feel is your most what is it? First of all, what do you take out of it? What is the most interesting experience that you had as a president of George Washington University?
Well, what I am not an inherently humble man, but I quickly realized that if you were going to be the leader of an academic institution, particularly a university of George Washington's quality, you made a major blunder if you suggested to the faculty that perhaps because you were the president, you had greater standing than they did. And so I learned something about humility and something about politics, and the need for consultation and the need to count. You had to count the votes before you brought up the agenda. And you had to learn not to ask any questions, the answers to which you did not already know. Because if you asked a question, the answer to which you didn't know, you might get an answer that you didn't like. And so over time, I developed political skills, which it turns out are in some ways more important than academic skills as the leader of an academic institution. The professors bring sufficient scholarship and genius to the table. The job of the president is more to focus the institution than it is to try to re-educate the faculty, all of whom are convinced that they know everything they need to know. Thank you very much.
So what is your main achievement there? What do you see as your main achievement at George Washington?
Well, I took an institution with the help of many other people, vice presidents, deans, professors, trustees, all the stakeholders, which did not think well of itself. It had the fortune, but at another level of misfortune, of being in the same city with Georgetown, which when I arrived was perceived of as superior, and which, given a choice, students would always choose Georgetown over GW. And over 20 years, we developed enough strength at GW that is no longer the case. And depending on what you're studying and who you are and which institution serves your needs best, GW can go head to head with Georgetown, and perhaps everything except basketball, where they seem always and persistently stronger. But I think I took GW from being a second choice, where people came if they didn't get into Georgetown and they wanted to be in Washington, to a place of first choice for a whole variety of students who saw that GW was capable of serving their academic and social needs as well, or indeed in many cases better than any of the competition in Washington and elsewhere in the United States. And that is very consequential. And I grew the institution So we added disciplines. I was fortunate enough to wake up one morning and realize that there wasn't a school of public health in the District of Columbia. The closest one was Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. And I understood somehow intuitively that public health was going to be the hot field in the 21st century. And I was able to persuade, and believe me, it was a real tussle with faculty to allow me to create a school of public health at GW, which has gone on to become a preeminent school of public health in the country and one of the greatest fundraisers. And I don't mean from philanthropy, I mean from people contracting who really wanted our services in the federal government and elsewhere around the world. So I'm very pleased with the fact that I took the university and took it from being a B university to being an A university. And we were able, therefore, to recruit better students and better faculty and new facilities. And the endowment, which was about $200 million when I came, was about $1.2 billion when I left, maybe more. And so they were more financially sound by the time I departed. And we added a school of public administration, and we added a school of a graduate school of education, and we added a school of international affairs. So one thing or another, the university became further articulated, particularly focused on maximizing the location in Washington, D.C.
So, moving on from George Washington University to University of the People. So why have you decided to join our President Council?
Well, it's a variation on Tikkun Olam, the need to cure the world, to make it a better place. It's for me, it's a subset of religious faith. If you believe that in the course of your life, you're supposed to contribute in a way that leaves the planet, leaves the human species, leaves the world better than you found it. University of the People is a perfect outlet for somebody with my particular skill set. I think when you first came to me, I got involved with University of the People because you came and you told me this incredible and unbelievable story about what you were going to do. And I thought, what a nice man and what a dreamer. This will never happen, but let me see if I can be helpful to him. And it seemed like a good idea, but highly unlikely, highly improbable, and indeed a sure thing to fail. And but you didn't. I mean, you actually prevailed and took this small kernel of an idea and have grown a forest. And since I believe in education, and I believe that education is the way to improve the world, and I believe in education for people from third world countries, particularly, as a way to help them and protect America, which is, I'm a great patriot, and I think it's a way to enhance America as well by helping others through the resources by sharing the resources which we are so fortunate and blessed to have. It's a way to peace in our time. It just seemed to me a good thing and worth a try. And so I said, sure. And little did I know I was dealing with somebody who I think is going to leave a great legacy as a result of his life's work.
I remember as well our first meeting in your office in George Washington University, and our first meeting in New York, the first meeting of the President Council. So it's 12 years by now, and you were and still are a great supporter and a very important figure to get the advice and the support. So thank you for this. And now I would like to ask you a more general question. Where do you see your people in 5 years?
Where do I see who in 5 years?
The University of the People.
The University of the People. Well, you know the notion in the Bible that the poor will always be with us. The mission of the University of the People will never be fulfilled. It is a runway with no end. There will always be people living in third world countries, and I hope that we will continually move forward and define third world more generously, and that the countries themselves will be less poor and their people will be better educated and therefore richer in all kinds of ways. But ultimately, there will always be a disparity because we are not going to come to a point where everybody in the world is Jeff Bezos. So the mission of the University of the People, which is to educate people who do not have access to conventional university opportunities, is an eternal one. And I can only hope that in 5 years they'll be doing more of it and bigger in more places, and that its alumni will be all over the world, and they will be, as I've discovered with George Washington University, doctors and physicians and politicians who have good memories of GW, and in your case, and the University of the People's case, good memories about University of the People, which already is serving as a bridge for graduates who get their bachelor's degrees at the University of the People and then go on to NYU and the University of California and elsewhere for graduate degrees, and on and on. And I think you'll have many grateful alumni who will help to build their alma mater so that their children and their grandchildren and other citizens of their countries in the Middle East and in Africa will have an opportunity in small villages where they don't have access to conventional universities, an opportunity to get a post-secondary education and become professionals and scholars.
So my last question will be very connected to that. A lot of our students are going to watch this video, watching and are going to watch. What advice will you give to our students?
Well, never give up. Education still is the key. I don't think everybody needs to have a PhD. I've never been one of these people who think that the reason to stay in school is because you'll earn more. You probably will earn more if you get a degree, but the idea is really to learn more. Education is not merely about earning a livelihood, although I'm a man who respects a livelihood, and I think that it's imperative, but it's also to help you to live a life. And people who have read widely and who understand different religions and different philosophies and different cultures don't make war with each other. What we all want for our children is what everybody wants for their children: a peaceful, prosperous, uplifting opportunity. And alas, I fear that that ambition of curing the world, which I was brought up committed to, has not in fact succeeded. I haven't done a good enough job in my lifetime, but I'm confident that the alumni of University of the People, taken together, will do far more. Working on the basis of what they learn at the university and other universities, and participating in the cultural and social and economic and political aspects of their nations. And you are running what is essentially a great international conspiracy on behalf of goodness and peace. And so I'm hopeful it'll spread.
Well, the conspiracy. So we're running together a conspiracy. This was strong and inspiring. Thank you so much. And for all of you who watch this video, if you like it, just like and share it. And it was great talking to you, Steve, and hope to see you face to face soon. Thank you.
Salam alaikum.
Thank you.